Hey, hello everyone. How are you doing? It's been a while since I, excuse me, got to see you last. Harold B, how you doing? First name, last name. How you doing? James Richter, Yukon, Cornelius. Again, appreciate you guys being here. Uh, this live stream, I changed up the format just a little bit. But first thing, if you are new, let us know where you're from. Go ahead, type in new in the comment section and where you're from, and we'll see if we can go ahead and acknowledge you. And we're going to create a sort of a mailing list here where we can update you with things that are going on, maybe promos that are going on, new videos coming up, guests that are going to come up, so we can get your input, maybe what types of questions you would like to ask the guests, so we can get these things going. So this mailing list, it'll have a bit more than that. So we do hope you jump on it. It'll be sbtv at silverbullion.com.sg, and just go ahead and type in mailing list in the subject header. But again, good to see you all. I am Patrick Vieira, part of the outreach team over at Silver Bullion in Singapore. So glad to be here and see you all. Let me just get a quick roll call again out here. Uh, let's see. The truth is lost with time. Ain't that the truth? Great. Seymour Rivers, how you doing? Paul, yes, absolutely. Been a while. Chris Primer, Ola, how are you doing? So again, glad to see you folks here once again. So we're going to take a look at a few things Janet, well, actually one major thing Janet Yellen said, and we're just going to stick with that article and kind of dissect it up a bit because it's pretty darn telling. And of course, we'll take a look at the past Lynette Zhang interview. So it got a bunch of stuff, but hopefully it'll be trimmed down, trimmed down a bit where we can cozy up to each other a bit more. So I'll see you guys shortly. A few more seconds, and we'll get this thing rolling. So hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Silver Bullion Television, SBTV. This is the live stream. Hopefully, we can get it back on track to be a weekly item. Again, part of the outreach team here at Silver Bullion, which specializes in wealth protection. I think this is more important than ever before, especially with the things that we see going on. So I do hope that you subscribe, hit that bell so you can be notified when new products or new items come up. And thumbs ups are always, always appreciated. So let me run through this real quick. Vincent is here. Morning, everyone. Morning, Vincent. How are you doing? Let's see. Jack W. Hello from Florida. How are things in Florida? Hope it's all good. Unicorn Cornelius. Yes. Aloha, aloha, one and all. Appreciate that. So let's get this going. Again, we are on social media. You can find us at silverbullion.com.sg, where again we do specialize in wealth protection. I think I can't say this enough right now with what we see going on. Facebook, Silver Bullion SG. Twitter, at Silver Bullion PL for private limited. Instagram, Silver Bullion SG. Got some nice photos of maybe some of your favorite things on there. Audio only versions can be found at bit.ly/SBTV iTunes or /SBTV Spotify. And of course, Crisis Tracker, t.me/Crisis Tracker, Crisis Tracker, one word. And of course, this is where we go and we hang on, let me just shift this over. This is where we go and we pick out some articles, Vincent and I, mostly Vincent. So thank you, Vincent. And it's up for discussion. You know, maybe you got some comments that you'd like to talk about. Some recent ones were gold prices hitting highs against the Aussie dollar. Fail or sell? What would be next for stricken Credit Suisse? I think this is updated now. I think Credit Suisse was actually bought out. I believe it was fully bought out. Things say like from the Wall Street Journal, where First Republic, SVB, Credit Suisse shows how higher interest rates caught up with banks. I shouldn't be laughing, but I think we all knew that this was coming, right? I mean, I think everyone who was watching this knew that this was coming. And from what I understand, that 30 billion for First Republic may not even be enough. It may not even be enough. They're calling it some sort of a buyout, bailout. Seems to me it looks like this is where they're just trying to cover supposedly more runs that are going on. So these are some of the things that you can find on Crisis Tracker. And this is the one that we're going to be talking about, the main topic, where China would be among first paid under GOP debt limit plan. according to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. So they got some things going on in Congress, and this is what we're going to spend time talking about. So if you could go ahead and let me know if the audio is coming in okay for you. So please do join our Telegram group, Crisis Tracker. And we are looking at starting up a mailing list, sbtv at silverbullion.com.sg, where what we'll do is we'll let you know who the upcoming guests are. Go ahead and maybe give us questions that you'd like us to ask. We'll let you know what promos we have going on in Singapore. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about the reserve, give a little bit more insider insight on the reserve. And then, of course, things that are important to you, where do you truly own your precious metals stored in a vault? You may think so, but do you truly own them? So we can go over these things. You may want to even book sort of you can call it a strategy session. We're looking at bringing this out or implementing it. And again, collateralization, collateralize your gold and silver, meaning, if you were using this as sort of an investment or wealth protection, you are able to collateralize it. You still own it. You will still own it, but you can go ahead and collateralize it and take out a loan, a low interest loan on it, and then go ahead and reinvest. And we'll be also taking a look at things like maybe three trends to watch in 2023, especially for our US viewers. We'll be putting things specific geographically to our German viewers, for our UK viewers. So we're going to be mixing it up a bit, and our viewers in China. So we'll be mixing it up just a bit and see where we can go with this. So do join our email list, sbtv at silverbullion.com.sg. Just go ahead and send us an email and type in mailing list in the subject header. All right. So again, aloha one and all. Today I want to simply go over an article from CNBC about something by Mistress Janet. No, just kidding there. Joke. But she said something that you only hear, and I don't mean this in a bad way. She said something that only broke people say, or something going around in Congress that only broke people say. And many of us have been there. I mean, I've been there. If you saw the recent Lynette Zhang interview, it looks like she's been there as well. So hard times, they do hit us. They do come upon us. And Congress is speaking like there are some very, very, very hard times there. So we're going to be taking a look at that. But before we go there, I want to head on over to our website, silverbullion.com.sg, and check in on the gold price. And then we'll go ahead and take a look at three snippets from Lynette Zhang. So let me head over to the website really quick here. So let's see. In US dollars, let me refresh this. Silver is down some 29 cents. Gold is down some $18.57. We saw big moves in both gold and silver, particularly gold towards the end of the week last week. Platinum just a little bit down, relatively unchanged. And in that move, we did see the gold and silver ratio change a bit. It was up close to 90. It's at 88.1 now. So that means, as you all know, it takes about 88 ounces of silver to go ahead and equal 1 ounce of gold. And a lot of you out there may be playing the ratio. So this is something again, very, very good to know. And featured products, as always, Britannia's they do well in Singapore. Maples do well in Singapore, as do the 1,000 ounce LBMA bars. The reason being, you probably get the best spread or the closest price to spot if you are looking to put some money into silver. So for those reasons and others, a lot of people choose these LBMA good delivery silver bars. And the myth is that they actually weigh 1,000 ounces, but the reality is some do and some don't. So this is something we always have to check on. I mean, if you're buying 1,000 ounce LBMA bar, you best to make sure that thing actually weighs 1,000 ounces. So here, of course, we do weigh them out and charge accordingly to the ounces. So good to check on your LBMA bar. We got one in the shop, pretty heavy. So we got one in the shop, Millennial Walk here in Singapore, and we have 336 here in storage. So if you thinking about or considering opening up a storage account and storing it with us, We have six types: a personal, a joint, a trust, a joint account. Sorry, joint account with a minor, business account, and a retirement account. Let me switch this up so it looks a bit better. At retirement account, we're getting pretty serious about this. We put in a new IRA tab or page where we walk through it with you. Just give us some info, your name, phone number, email, and we'll go ahead and help you to get started on opening up a precious metals IRA account. Three easy steps basically to go through. And it's not that we work with New Direction, but most of our IRA, precious metals IRA customers, they do have an account with New Direction. So we find that, they are one of the more friendly ones to work with. So we would probably direct you to New Direction. So again, how's everyone doing out there? Hope you're all doing fine. Let me take a quick look. Yukon Cornelius is saying chat looks frozen. Uh, James Richter, appreciate that. Appreciate that greatly. Thank you for that. Uh, let's see that. Yeah, thank you. $2 from James Richter in that super chat. Yes, save your nickels, friends. Uh, so again, sorry about that. This is definitely a time for wealth protection when we see what's going on, and when we go through this article from CNBC with what Janet Yellen said, we're definitely gonna see why. All right, so I want to go ahead and take a look at three things that Lynette Zhang from ITM Trading and the Beyond Gold and Silver YouTube channel said. So I'll run through three snippets from Lynette Zhang.
It is critical. Now, food is the single biggest issue as we go through these transitions for most people. And have we not been watching this rise in global food insecurity? You can't live without food. You can't live without water. And yes, indeed, everything has been turned into a commodity. I mean, the house that you live in, this is not supposed to be short term. You're not moving every day, right? And it used to be that people, this is your shelter, right? Where you can make your last stand. People used to own homes. They used to in the newel posts upstairs, those would be empty. When they paid off the mortgage, they would have a party, they would put it in that post, and they would then glue that post down. It was a big deal. And then that property was passed down to the next generation that didn't have that mortgage debt to weigh them down. So, but we've been taught to be short-termism, short, 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 short. And so most people live in a property for 5 years. Well, no wonder you don't fix it up the way you would have it fixed up. You're fixing it up thinking you're going to sell it.
All right, Lynette Zhang says food is the single biggest issue. She's correct. I mean, I think we can go back a couple of years and we can recall how many food processing plants and such somehow had events unlike anything we've ever seen before. Even globally in Europe, there are food events, with farmers, and uh, there are events with food. So keep that in mind. The rise in global food security is definitely something that we have to consider and keep an eye on. Okay, besides our gold and silver, of course, food, right? We need these things. Everything has been turned into a commodity, and this came up because I understand Wall Street may be looking to commoditize water, if you can believe this. So they're looking to commoditize water, and again, something we need to keep our eye on. Short termism, it is true. There was a day a house was a home, okay, and that home stayed with you for decades, maybe even generations. Today, it's just something that it's just something that people flip. They make money and they get another one and flip some more, and nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you can make some money, sure, of course, nothing wrong with that. But just to say, short termism, we have come to that place where long termism is rough. Maybe that's why again, people not prefer, but we see so much of the young going into crypto because short term, right? This is what the environment they've grown up in. Gold and silver, these are long term. These are more of the environment that a lot of people our age have grown up in. So it's just a little bit of a difference of opinion there. Let's see what else is out here. Just want to take a look at. I think Vincent had a comment to say. Uh, we don't know much about Tin, but you can check with Patrick Karim right at North Star Bad Charts. He mentioned in one of our past interviews. I think yes, he did recall. I do recall he did mention something about Tim. So North Star Bad Charts, Patrick Karim. So you might want to check him out. Okay, another not who's crushing metals. Not me, that's for sure. Another snippet from Lynette Zhang.
This gives them even more control in that arena. And especially once we go to the CBDCs. And we've been watching this whole thing unfold with the cryptocurrencies and FTX and Celsius and all of that infrastructure kind of falling apart. And oh, it's a Ponzi scheme. Well, the whole monetary system is a Ponzi scheme. And the IMF did a paper where it was private crypto's bad, central bank crypto's good. It's garbage. These guys have done such a good job, and I hope everybody realizes I'm being very facetious. They've done such a good job. Let them drive us into a wall, and you have no control. They can tell you where to spend that money that they give you, the fiat money that they don't even have to pull a printing press for. They can just print at will and they never take the responsibility that it is all of this printing and all of their policies that has directed the winners and the losers. But we're supposed to trust that they have our best interest at heart.
I trust them, right? Why not? We should all trust them. The whole monetary system is a Ponzi scheme. Whole monetary system is a Ponzi scheme. Private cryptos, bad, no good. Central bank cryptos, that's the one you want. You have no control. You have no control. These are the things that are going on. Printing and policies are hurting us. Absolutely. In fact, let me just pull up this one comment here from the Resistance. Keep supporting small local business like banks. Don't drain these small banks dry. And this is an interesting comment because there was, I think, at a congressional hearing, one of the senators had mentioned something about small banks because the treasury is choosing to help out the bigger banks, and they're saying they may not be able to do it with the smaller banks. You are getting bigger depositors in the smaller banks moving their money over to the bigger banks because they may not be fully insured. Janet Yellen said that basically a committee, her and the President Biden, they will actually be the ones to choose which deposits will be fully insured. Okay, if you can get that, I may have to look for that and maybe bring that up later on during the week or another live stream. But they are picking winners and losers, and we've known this for a while. So what's happening is the smaller banks, they are going to see their bigger depositors move over to the bigger banks. And as Gerald Solente says, the bigs get bigger. The bigs get bigger. They are going to have more power. So for the smaller banks, the community banks, it's going to be some hard times ahead. And what is interesting about this is when you go back to Biden, when he nominated Soli Amarova for that comptroller position, she had said, she had said along the lines that, there shouldn't be community banks. And the interesting thing is what's happening right now may very well cause that to happen. So whether or not, go back in time now, whether or not Amarova got in that position or not, it sure looks like the policy or agenda or plan was the same. It was only a matter of who is going to implement it. But again, keep an eye on this. This is very, very important. Keep an eye on it. I'll try to bring something up on this later on. Anyway, moving on to another clip from Lynette Zhang.
Hyperinflation, that'll create a crisis of confidence. And then the zeros for a pack of gum will get to be what? $1 million for a pack of gum, which I know sounds outrageous, but look at Zimbabwe. And then they're going to lop off zeros and they're going to introduce the CBDCs as fighting that inflation because they're going to have the ability to have their finger on that button constantly, 24/7. They can modify policy policy 24/7. Those are their words, not mine. Because right now, when they do that policy, like we were talking about earlier, well, typically, if it's a monetary policy thing, it takes about 18 months to work through the system. So all those Fed rate hikes and all those global rate hikes that have taken place in the last year and a half, well, that's just really hasn't even trickled through yet. We don't have the impact of that, regardless of what anybody thinks. It takes about 18 months. Once they have a CBDC, they talk about having their finger on the button of policy constantly.
All right, Lynette Zhang laying it out. Loss of confidence is coming. I think most of us have already had that. And this is why we found our confidence or our trust in things like wealth protection and silver and gold. CBDCs are the needed inflation fighter according to things that we are going to be told. We're going to be told we need central bank digital currencies as an inflation fighter from the people who gave us the inflation. It all makes sense, right? It all makes sense. 24/7 policy implementation. And this is what some people have talked about, where because CBDCs are programmable, if let's say an event should happen and we need stimulus and they go ahead and they put some money in your account, you may have 30 days to spend that money to get the economy going. Let's say if they need to pick up the economy, they may put time deliverables on your money. Who knows what they're going to do? It is all programmable, and they want this immediate effect where no more waiting to April to file taxes or whatever. Every transaction that's made, it's immediate. It goes in the coffers as tax revenue. This is another reason they want it. 9 out of 10 reasons, I'm being conservative here, I don't know. 9 out of 10 reasons for CBDCs are for banks, are for governments. It's not really for the average person, except for maybe something like they don't have to take a 2 or 3 hour bus ride from the province or the countryside to get into town to pay an electricity bill or something like that. That may be a few of the reasons why, but nonetheless, for whatever reason, this interview with Lynette Zhang has been out for a week or so, and we're scraping just for 2,500 views with Lynette Zhang. So something's going on again. I don't know if it's the algos or what, but be sure to check out the entire interview with Lynette Zhang. She gave some good info in there, and she told us a story that I don't think I've heard anywhere before about her time in France. Um, it was an amazing story, and it was nice for her to break down some of the walls and let us in on her personal life. I mean, she always does anyway, but this was pretty uh it was pretty endearing. So thank you for that, and I hope you do have a chance to check out that Lynette Zhang interview. All right, moving over to the topic of the day: who gets the money first? And this is that article, right? I want to go over that article from CNBC and things that U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said, or let's say Congress said. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. This article came out late last week where it says China would be among the first paid under GOP debt limit plan, Treasury Secretary Yellen says. And this is really straight away when you look at it, they're trying to paint a picture here, a division once again. So we need to be pretty aware of these things. Some key points: Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen panned a GOP idea to cut off certain debts to avoid a government debt default. Now, such a plan would ensure China and Wall Street are paid off first, said Democratic lawmakers. And Yellen said the suggestion is exceptionally risky and untested. So, she basically said that China would be among the first to get paid under this proposal, and it's dangerous, and technically it could cause the U.S. to default on its bonds. So, you know, again, this is something when it comes to debt obligations. This proposal prioritized some U.S. debt obligations over others, calling it a dangerous idea. Again, that would technically cause the U.S. to default on its bonds. And again, this is all because when these rates are going up, uh, it's inversely proportional, the yield and the price or cost or value of the bond. So when these yields go up, and I showed you this for 1 year, we went over. Maybe I should start it again. For 1 year, we went over how that yield curve inverted, and when that happens, it's trouble. It spells big trouble. So as these yields were going up, as inflation was going up, these yields had to go up to chase after the inflation. But what happens is you lose money on the value of your bond. And this is exactly what's happened with SVB. Remember the gilt, the UK gilt. We saw interest rates go up, and we saw gilt pensioners get in trouble. And then Bank of England had to step in and start up QE. So is QE on the table now? Anyway, moving forward with this article, their latest debt ceiling proposal, which passed 2117 out of the House Ways and Means Committee last week, would prioritize which payments the U.S. Treasury makes first when the U.S. hits the ceiling at which it cannot issue more bonds. And the GOP plan places a higher priority on making public debt obligations on Social Security and other types of government obligations. Now, if Treasury follows, see the division here, follows this Republican plan, bearing in mind that China holds about 1 trillion in US debt, who would get paid? First, asked the senator. Well, if that were prioritized, China would get paid ahead of them, Yellen answered, referring to seniors, back of the line, who get Social Security, and veterans, back of the line, veterans who get VA benefits. She added that debt prioritization is default by another name. She went on to say, I cannot give any assurances about the technical feasibility of such a plan. Yellen told lawmakers it would be an exceptionally risky, untested, and radical departure from normal payment practices of agencies across the federal government. All right, this part, I know for those of you who read it, it stung you up a bit. It really got to you. And I'll go over why. And she said lawmakers needed to recognize that raising the debt ceiling is their responsibility. It's your responsibility. You don't need to pay down the debt, but hey, make sure you increase the debt so that way we can pay things. And it's our responsibility to protect the full faith and credit in the United States by what? Creating more debt. Where are we going? Where are we really going with this? And the Treasury Department has initiated temporary measures in recent months to default, escape default, including suspending new investments in certain federal retirement programs. Again, hey, older guys, back of the line for us. And a health benefit fund. All right, so we'll all be coughing and sneezing and all unhealthy in the back of the line with our canes and wheelchairs. I guess that's where we're headed, right? The measures are set to expire in June. So, did we all get this? Yellen is suspending new investments in retirement programs and the health benefit fund. You, me, guys, we mean nothing to them. And the quicker we understand that the Federal Reserve note, the money in your wallet or purse, your bank account, it's a debt instrument, right? I know you have heard this before. It is a debt instrument. This is why the more we had all better realize that you and I are the biggest burden to lay claim on these debt instruments. We are the biggest burden to the system because we are going to claim these dollars that are owed to us. And you and I, again, the burden on the system. Therefore, make no mistake, a new global monetary system is coming. Why? Because this is what they always do. Every time a republic, a nation starts to fail, or the currency starts to fail, what do? Create a new one. They go ahead and create a new one. Only this time, if it's a CBDC, it's really going to spell trouble for us all. Yellen goes on to say, we need to pay our bills. We need to pay all of our bills. That willingness and commitment to be responsible in paying bills that have already been incurred is what underlies the United States strong credit rating, according to Yellen. Well, My understanding is the credit rating went down, according to Moody's. And it makes no sense to me when you say we need to pay our bills. How are you paying your bills? By creating more money. You create more money. What are you doing? You're devaluing the currency. So you're paying your bills with a currency that is losing purchasing power. Is that going to make people happy? Is that going to make the US trading partners happy? Maybe that's why we see our trading partners moving on over to other things, uh, other payment transfer systems like SIPs, the Chinese international payment system, like Instex, which is what Europe has already built. It's going to be a way to transfer money. Maybe this is why we see them de-dollarizing, where they're looking at other things. Maybe this is why we're seeing them, central banks making the largest gold buying in decades, if not ever. So yeah, pay your bills with money that you just continue to print makes no sense. I don't know what world. I think a lot of us don't know what world these guys are truly living in. If we were to fail to pay any of our bills, that would call into question whether or not we deserve our credit rating. Well, I guess that was answered with Moody's dropping the rating, right? And it's simply a recipe for economic and financial catastrophe to think we can pay some of our bills and not all of them, is what she added. There is a reason that Treasury secretaries of both parties have rejected this incredibly risky and dangerous idea. It's never been tried before. Again, this is the part I told you about, probably stung you if you read this article. A dangerous idea, and it's never been tried before. Well, where was this sentiment Bernanke brought us to with QE1? Never been tried before, risky. Where was that sentiment? He brought us to QE1. Where was this sentiment as Yellen and Powell looked to take us to QE infinity or crash the entire monetary system? Where's this sentiment about risky, something we've never done before? Where's that sentiment with this? I mean, as long as they do it, it's fine, right? But if we get tangled up in their experiments, in their mistakes, it's not good for you and I. So, again, keep this in mind. This is why you always got to have some type of alternative currency. I'm not saying, I'm not saying specifically in the crypto term, but I'm also saying things like gold and silver, maybe even crypto, whatever it is. You got to at this point really have one foot in the current system and one foot out. But don't tell us we don't want to try something that's risky and never been done before, because they keep on doing it. They have continuously been doing it. So I don't think they're being very, very genuine with us in these things. Let me take a look at a few comments here. What's going on? Um, let's see. Yeah, okay. I think we're doing okay there. James Richter, I appreciate this super chat. Uh, I'm in an abusive and non-consensual relationship with the state. I want out. That sounds maybe like all of us, my friend. That sounds like all of us. And again, this is something where you got to keep your head on a swivel, understand all of these things going on around you, not just the gold and silver aspect, but again, things, the food aspect, things like that, things like the currency situation, not just in the US, but other countries. I mean, there will be a crisis. Yes, we are working our way to it. Yes, and eventually there will be a new currency. Yes, and this is what we have to understand. What can we do here? So again, I appreciate that, James. Um, okay, so let me move forward a bit here. So Yellen has a concern about who gets paid first. Okay, who gets paid first on the debt the U.S. owes. And she also has concerns that lawmakers need to recognize, basically, they're getting scoldings here. Your job, Mr. Lawmaker, your job is to raise that debt ceiling. It's your responsibility to protect the full faith and credit of the United States. Oh, Mr. Lawmaker, how about being fiscally responsible? How about that? Wouldn't that possibly protect the full faith and credit of the United States? Again, this is the world that you know they live in. It's more and more getting disconnected. And we have to understand how we can maneuver, navigate through these things. Because when they're saying raise the debt ceiling, that protects the full faith and credit of the U.S. Why? Because you go in more debt, you can go ahead and issue bonds, and the banks and the Fed will go ahead and take in those bonds, give you the cash, and you can go ahead and pay your bills. Well, how about not creating bills in the first place? Maybe that would work too, right? I mean, hey, what do I know? Thing is, no one gives a bleep about who gets paid first unless there is not enough money to go around. Correct? I mean, if you borrowed money from five friends, uh, I don't know, you borrowed $20 from five friends, you owe, what is that, $125, but you only have 100. Okay. So you may pay all five just a little bit, or you might pay four and tell one guy to wait. Say, hey, you know what? Just hang on a bit. I'll pay you next time around. Only people who don't have money talk about who gets paid first. So when this comes out from Congress, it tells you we don't have enough money. And it kind of says why, hey, we got to raise that debt ceiling again. But really, it says we got no money. Okay, we got no money. We got to figure out who we are going to pay first. Only broke people talk like this. And again, I don't mean this in a bad way. I've been there. I've gone through that, right? You know, I can pay you, but I can't pay you. Thing is she hinting? Is Yellen hinting? Is it slipping that there are real, very real and systemic problems going on in the US and the global financial system? She even said that without raising the ceiling, the US cannot issue more bonds. And this is the key because who buys the bonds? You know, ultimately the banks, the central banks, they will be the ones to buy the bonds and then create the money out of thin air, as we know how the story goes, and then it goes to the government. The thing is, if no more bonds are issued, the government runs out of money. See, typically, the government should be getting revenue through taxes, or they may have to charge fees for certain things, or they may have to cut back on certain things. Responsible governments, they will operate this way. I mean, you know, sometimes yes, debt can be a good thing if you invest with it to turn the corner, but if it's just to pay your bills time and time and time again, you're only going to go deeper and deeper into debt. If bonds are issued as we see with Silicon Valley Bank, whoever buys the bonds, they run a risk. They run a risk of losing money. Banana Republic. Can we say Banana Republic here? Let me take a look at a few comments before I go on here. Yes, freedom for all. Be your own bank. There's never been a more important time to understand this. Be your own bank. Okay. Let me move on a little bit here. So, if the Fed continues to raise rates, expect more bank failures. Okay. Expect more bank failures, maybe even more receivership. The bigs get bigger. If the Fed slows, inflation runs the risk of going back up. All right. And this is something we have and others we've been talking about for quite some time. If the Fed slows down, the inflation rate is going to go back up. If the Fed continues to raise rates, you can expect more bank failures, more receivership. And the sad thing is, people invested in bonds, which is supposed to be one of, if not the safest things you could ever put your money in. And that's really the remarkable things like about this. You put your money in your government or a government and you lost. You are losing. You are losing right now. I don't mean it in a bad way, but this is how we have to truly see it. And I've said this many a time. When the 2008 crisis hit, we were told about 2 days. We were told we were about 2 days away from a complete global banking failure. And so, as people praised Paulson, Bernanke, Diamond, and a lot of them, people praised them. Oh, thank you for saving us. Little did anyone stop to think, maybe you did, but little did we stop to think, you mean we were 2 days away and you didn't warn me? You didn't tell me? You didn't warn me where I could protect myself? This thing was just going to happen 2 days away. So we're supposed to praise these these guys in charge. Well, what if they failed? What if it didn't work? None of us would have had any warning. And this is something I've always said. We are not going to have a warning. When things happen, no one's going to tell you. Probably not your bank, probably not your government. They're not going to tell you. If I can, I will. And you will. If you see it, you will be the one to tell your friends, tell your family, let them know what's going on. Okay. We have to all do this together, understand what is going on, find ways to understand what wealth protection is. Um, this is an important thing. I'm not going to say it's the most important thing in life, but it is up there. It is definitely within the top 10, within the top 5, maybe top 3, who knows, but this is something you cannot uh just keep pushing back. You have to, we all have to understand this and then take the steps to do something. The elephant in the room here that not many people are talking about are the pensions, the 401ks. See, no one wants to talk about bonds bought up by fund managers, fiduciaries that went into the safety of bonds. No one wants to talk about the cities, municipalities, state and local that went and bought, say, treasuries as a safe investment. No one wants to talk about this. But again, remember the UK guilt, pensioners in trouble. Remember that, where interest rates rose too high, too fast in the UK, and their pensioners were losing money on things like bonds, and then the Bank of England had to come in, start up QE, buy a bunch of bonds again to kind of help with that rate and yield to bring it back down of sorts. But remember this, and we had said back then, this is not only going to be a UK thing. This is going to happen everywhere. And we're not saying, we knew it was going to be SVB Bank or anything, but you knew it as well. I think everyone knew it, that if it happened in the UK, where interest rates were going to put people at risk of losing if they bought bonds, it's going to happen everywhere. It is going to happen everywhere. So, nothing new under the sun, guys. We all knew it was going to happen. Okay. I know you did. I know you knew. So we can go on. We can go on. But bond buyers everywhere, and the Federal Reserve is one of the biggest, if not the biggest bond buyer anywhere, are having their butt handed to them on a platter. For my satisfaction, I'd like to see that platter be a nice, thick, fat piece of silver, a nice, big, fat silver platter. I'd find a lot of happiness. I find a lot of happiness in that. So let me ask you this. If a big reason why Silicon Valley Bank went under was because of bond purchases that lost money as interest rates went up, that means the Federal Reserve is a loser, a big, huge loser as well, a big fat loser that is running out of options except perhaps, sadly, war, which brings a reset, or bringing in a currency like the CBDC, a new currency, which is historically what nations do. That brings in a reset. Both are on the table right now. And in either case, both means a currency will fail, and sadly, a country will fail as well. And people, just people like you and me, are going to get caught up in this thing. We have to protect ourselves the best way we can, the way that fits our life, whatever we can do. We need to take measures at this point. I mean, if they are talking about who gets paid first, we are probably in more trouble, than what any of us think. So again, I just wanted to go over this article because it tells a lot. It really does tell a lot. I know there are more articles out there. Hey, I'm just one guy. I can, just find something and try and dissect it up for us a bit. But there are many other articles out there. I was looking this morning. There are more articles that have come out. So this thing is quick. it's changing quick, and there is always news to go through, which is why I would say join our crisis tracker group where we can all try to keep up with things there. Um, hang on. Let me take this timer off. So hang on. Let me see if I can do that. Well, anyway, uh, let me see if I can. Hang on. Sorry about that, guys. Don't know if this is going to work. Well, okay, never mind. I need to try and remove that timer a bit. Um, hang on. Just give me a second here. Okay. Yep. So anyway, sorry about that. We really need to take care of what we can take care of on our own, and I want to run through a few of the comments here. Um, yeah, just curious. Has anyone out here have you lost a bit on the bonds? I mean, the situation going on with bonds as the rates were rising. Some people choose to hold them full term. Others it's the market. Buy and sell, buy and sell. But just wondering how you folks have done there with that. Let me see what else is out here real quick. Um, some things I marked. Rod Panhard. The ESF is being used to fund the bailouts of the failed banks. This is what's typically used to suppress the metals price. So I wonder if the game has now changed. That's a good point. Um, when this whole SVB thing first came about, I went and looked at some of the things they invested in, and they are a tech startup, and they preferred lending money to um environmental, social, government. So sorry, you're talking ESF, I'm talking ESG. But I went and looked at it, and they preferred lending to those types of companies, ESG companies. Um, and this is also concerning because I'm not saying they were toxic loans or anything, but this is their preference. And we've seen the preference before where banks are looking to they have a preference to loan out more to ESG companies. And then also we have where Biden said even with 401ks, where before the fiduciaries had to do their due diligence to find out where the proper investment investing that your 401k should go to. And then it switched where hey, if it's a ESG company, go for it. You can go ahead and throw 401k money in there. So we are seeing a shift, where it, things are shifting where life is going to change. Life always changes, but there's a preference for these types of things, and by hook or by crook, it seems like we're going to go to it, even if it means breakdowns in the financial system, even if it means social breakdowns. In the end, this is where they want to go. Anyway, Helsinki. Oops. Oh, sorry. I think I lost that. Sorry about that. Um, I gotta look for it again. Let's see. Monique King 5, it's all totally garbage. UBS just bought Credit Suisse. Be your own bank. Again, correct. We need to be our own bank at this point. Um, I don't know what else to say without repeating it. Understand, what gold and silver are. They if you go back 10 years, 15, they were considered investments, but after that, it became investment slash insurance. We're seeing more people who understand this that you need a hedge against what's going on. Um, does it move as quickly as other investments? No, 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 not at all. But does it protect you against other investments? Probably will. So there is a need for it, and just understand the reasons why to buy gold and silver. Again, this is something where if you let's say join that email group sbtv at silverbullion.com.sg, type in mailing list in the subject header. We can go ahead and talk about and discuss, help you to understand, especially if you're new to this, the reasons why you might want to be buying gold and silver. Let's see what else is out here. Um, uh, Let me see. Michael, things are experimental because though law is law, our officials aren't exactly known to keep things stricti juris and professional. No, they're not. Sad to say. Uh, I've read once where in the end of an empire, what you see is the judiciary is the um, last standing branch that can hold the country up. But when that judiciary starts to fail, you're right around the end. You are getting towards the end. So that's a good point there. Andy, appreciate that. Likes up, always appreciate it. Yeah, this format was a bit different. I wanted to keep it a bit short. Um, so I want to ask one question here. What is the reserve? What is the reserve? What is it meant to be? First guy who can answer this, we'll go ahead and shoot a $10 Amazon gift card. What is a reserve? Okay, if you can tell me what it is, simple explanation what it is. We'll go ahead and shoot you a $10 Amazon gift card. What is the reserve? All right, so let me look at a few more comments here. The resistance, absolutely. Silver is the most undervalued asset. We're seeing it again. Yeah, gold and silver going down, and you know, despite these times, and I think it was because one of you folks had mentioned about Buffett. Buffett is going to lend a hand. He's going to lend a hand in this. So we'll see how this goes. Is that the reason why silver and gold are going down a bit? Um, so anyway, I'll try and keep this short and sweet. I appreciate you guys being here. Absolutely. I'm waiting to see who can give me the correct answer as to what is the reserve, and then we'll go ahead and get your email. Head on out and send you a $10 Amazon gift card. Yes, a backup for safety. Let's see. The Fed Reserve. Okay, I mean the reserve in Singapore, the building that Silver Bullion is working on. I don't say building, but what is the reserve? Um, in your own words, what do you see the reserve as? Let's see. Um, you know what, Roan Wood. I'll go with that. I'll go with that. Keep and secure for one's self. Absolutely, I'm gonna go with that. In fact, Roan, if you could go ahead and pass us your email, just a generic email, then we'll go ahead and get in touch with you and send you a $10 Amazon gift card. Keep and secure for oneself. Absolutely. Um, to a point where some people feel when we talk about diversifying assets, it's even about diversifying the location of your assets, if at all possible, if it fits your needs. So keep and secure oneself. I'll go with that. So again, Ron Wood, please send us your email, and then we'll go ahead and send you a gift card. Take a look at a few more comments here, and I'll let you guys go. Uh, hmm. Let's see. Eureka. Let's see. You know what? I'm gonna throw Pabar. Pabar, give us your email, and let's see. James Richter, send us your email also, and the last one, Eureka. Uh, your email as well. You know what? I'll. I think you guys answered it pretty well with those. So go ahead and send us an email. We'll go ahead and send you a $10 Amazon gift card. So let me go over this with Vincent again. Vincent, we're looking at Roan Wood. Roan Wood. We're looking at James Richter. We're looking at Pabar. And then we're looking at Eureka. So again, guys, I appreciate that and appreciate you participating. I mean, as always, let us know what's on your mind. Join that mailing list, sbtv at silverbullion.com.sg. Type in mailing list. Um, we'll get through it. As I always say, be a blessing, not a burden. We're all in this together. We're all in this together, this storm together. Some of you guys have a yacht, and terrific. Me, I got a canoe. But I'm in this storm, and I'm going to paddle as hard as I can. We'll get through it together. Yachts, boats, canoes, whatever you got, we're going to get through this. So contact us, sales at silverbullion.com.sg if you have any questions. And again, especially with the IRAs, we can help get you started with that as well. Okay, so with that, I appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to end it, but we'll try to keep these live stream going on. I think maybe the next one I might want to take a look at is how smaller banks, community banks are going to have a rough go with their bigger depositors, going to put their money into the bigger banks. What's going to then happen with the smaller banks? And again, this was something that Salia Amarova said she wanted to do, but it sure looks like she was just going to be the person to carry it out. It was already the plan because we kind of sort of see it happening now. So anyway, you guys take care. Appreciate the like buttons. Please subscribe. Please check out the Lynette Zhang interview. I think also Nick Giambruno was released over the weekend, so he had some choice things to say about CBDCs actually failing in Nigeria. The people don't want it. He spoke a little bit about SVB and he did speak a little about Bitcoin. So go ahead and look at both Lynette Zhang and Nick Giambruno. And I'll see you guys next week. As always, be a blessing, not a burden. We're here. If you guys ever need us for whatever it may be, including wealth protection, be a blessing, not a burden. And just want to say saddle up for what's coming ahead and silver up as well. So I'll see you guys next week. Keep an eye on everything and anything. See you guys next week. Take care.